What's happening? Andy here. I'm joined today by Tom Mitchell of Connected Office Technologies. How are you, Tom? What's happening?
Oh, I'm doing great, Andy. Thanks for checking in today. Well, there's a lot of things happening, but this is a great time to talk about the industry because there's a lot going on, and we're bringing a lot of these products and services that the manufacturers are sort of rolling down to us out to the field, and there's been a lot of great reception.
Well, that's one of the things I think we want to talk about. We've got some product launch and some technology that came out, and you're an early adopter. But before we get into that, and let's take a step back and just talk about a little bit of background from you, and then maybe Connected Office Technologies. Where are you? I know you're in the Northeast, but what states are you in? Where your start? All that good stuff. Tell us about you guys. What do you sell? All that.
So, so we are in Maine and New Hampshire. We have two offices, one in Portsmouth, one in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and one in Portland, Maine. And in particular, those what the reason why I got in this business is because I was in technology sales, mostly in a channel sales position for about 10 years to a large data company. And we would sell devices into distribution. And I know distribution models. And one of the models that you look at geographic sort of penetration, right? A lot of manufacturers can throw some numbers out and say, we own so much of this market share, we own so much of this market share. And I happen to live in Maine and have most of my life. But when I looked at the copier industry, I saw the sort of writing on the wall where a lot of the manufacturers were pulling out of these rural territories. And I started to kind of think, who am I going to align myself with that really had that stability and sort of continuity of how I thought consumers could really jump in with product sets. So we looked at everybody. I mean, when Kyle and I started this business, it was different then. Even 10 years ago, there was a lot of consolidation going on. There was a lot of the dealers that were in local territories were being bought out, and the programs for especially for printers and print management had evolved where you had HP supplying some of these owned dealerships from manufacturers, and then there wasn't a really big player in that A4 market. Well, one came to us actually at a show through a previous relationship. We were at a BTA show, and Brother kind of came in and said, "Hey, we know who you guys are, and we know what you're going to do. And we just started this VPP program, uh, and here are the benefits." And so I always look at things from the customer's eyes, and I try to say, if I was going to buy a fleet of printers for a college, a hospital, university, or even if I was going to buy one, what would I want out of that brand that's supplying it and maybe the distributor that's selling it to me? And so, Brother put together this program for distribution where they have these sort of what I call sort of commercial grade devices where they have higher yields. They're compliant, so they have compliance built into them for HIPAA and FISMA. And on the backside with the distributors, they built this program where basically at certain volume levels, you're able to just do exchanges instead of break fix. So that was a big because it didn't have to impact our bottom line to take on the product. So we did, and we were one of the first really adopters of the full program. We won a huge state contract with it. We were vetted with their all the way up to the DOJ. We had great conversations with Brother. They wrote specific scripts for this particular transaction, and we've placed about in that one particular contract over 1,000 devices. So not only did they provide a good program for the dealer, a good product, but there was technical support where we could attempt to take over um, a fleet of product that was sort of unmanaged by another manufacturer or distributor.
Okay. Well, very cool. So you've been around how long? When did you guys open up?
About 10 years. So we sold our first copier in 2000,
Oh, we froze up a little. Did I lose you?
our 10-year mark.
All right, you're right at your 10-year mark. We froze up for a second there. We got you back. So and you're not, you're what I would call a pretty typical office equipment reseller. You're in everything from the low end A4 up to production. You carry multiple vendors. You're in multiple location. You are a good size dealer, especially in that part of the country. But you are pretty dominant up in your area. So, what other stuff do you guys do? Do you do mailing equipment, IT services, all those other areas too, or is it mostly focused on office?
No, so we shied away from the IT service, and when I look to diversify this business, which we've done a great job over the last 2 years, we looked at IT and I talked to and I flew out to a few larger IT copier companies that have hired their own CIOs and brought large IT infrastructure into their copier business. And I didn't really see from the customer standpoint the huge benefit of doing that in my particular territory. I can see it in some of the major metros where you've got a in Chicago, you've got a really strong presence and there's a facility where people can come and they can collaborate. My territory is huge, but there's not a lot of concentration. The biggest city in Maine is Portland, Maine, and there's maybe 100,000 people in the whole
Yeah,
city.
yeah.
So what I
So you're
what I
spread
did
out and it's
was,
too tough to cover. I can see that for sure.
yeah, it's from our office to the border of Canada is 8 hours drive, and we have customers up there. We actually have Border Patrol as a customer through one of our government contracts. But what I like to bring to our customers once they come on with the copier is something that they just can't get their hands on themselves. IT services, if you put out an RFP, if you're a decent sized company, there's probably a good chance that you'd have some response from a really good IT provider, right? An MSP. But what they can't get their hands on is sort of the same in the industry is a commercial grade device in certain areas. And that's where we've expanded. And you might have heard this from other dealers, and it's odd thing when you talk to some of your copier customers, but then they quickly jump in and be like, yeah, that's an area we've been having trouble with. Water coolers, right? Another industry, and I happen to work for Nestle at the height of the water industry, another industry that went through a massive consolidation, and now they've turned it away. They've given it back to the local dealer, the 5 gallon water bottles, the water coolers, the filtration. Nestle's like, we're out of this business, especially in rural territories, high cost, low demand. So, and technology has changed in that. So we do water coolers. We also do Wi-Fi products. So we had a customer approach us and they were like, our Wi-Fi is not doing very well. We don't know why. So we picked, just based on my background and experience, three different wireless device providers, brought them all in, and I learned a lot. And we got everybody certified, and now we can provide Wi-Fi services. Now that's something that doesn't have a consumable attached to it. Same with the water coolers; they don't have 5 gallon bottles; they're filtration, and it's a need for the customer. We do also. We just took on uh, physical security cameras and door badge swipes, access communications. The number one brand in sort of that industry is about an hour south of my Portsmouth office, and the salesman's been calling on me for about 10 years since I've been open. We just weren't ready, but now we've got a great staff. We've got people that are interested in doing other things than copiers, and there's a need for it. The security business had a huge consolidation in our area anyway, about 5 years ago. There was some really good local distributors, and they got bought out by a giant manufacturer. And what happens in that type of scenario is the same thing that's happened in some of the copier business, where they don't get the service, they don't get the response time. And we're going there anyway. So we've turned some of our technicians into sort of salespeople. Hey, listen, this is something else that we do that I can help service. They own the account from a service level, and they have that trust built with the customer. So we've been picking up some pretty basic security installs that have been going really well. So those are the types of things that we brought to the table from our customers, but always from their point of view. So we're picking up some momentum, but it has to be stable. We're not going to bring on a startup security company. We're going to go to Axis and say, we haven't sold one yet, but can you give us a really good deal on the first 100 cameras that we sell? So that's basically where we're at with the security stuff. I just realized I have to plug in my laptop real quickly, battery.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's an interesting way for this to evolve, and all of those things can be financed through our leasing partners, and we
Yeah.
can carve off maintenance, and we can cut so that, again, that one bill strategy can be accomplished across the board on all the products that I mentioned there.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned that I kind of wanted to focus on in this interview is the fact that you've got 8 hours of driving that you need to do. You've got possibly for a technician to get back and forth. It's a really spread out territory. You've got customers all over 2 states. You've got multiple locations you operate out of. So Brother came out with this Value Print Plus program, right? And the idea is to make your life a little bit easier here. And you were an early adopter for that, and I can see why Brother would come to you and a couple of the other guys early on for that. You're perfect candidate. So you've had a good experience. What is it? Let's get into it a little bit. What is the product? And what are you using it for, and what do you like about it?
So we to your point, the enterprise ish customer in our territory has locations spread out. So we do a lot what we call front end investigation. So a customer will say, I got all these locations, I got all this type of stuff, but my problem is I can never get the right toner. They're on a different program. What that if they have faraway location, what we have these abilities with the VPP program to typically like stock a couple pieces of that product at the customer site, which we will put on a shelf for them. And they know the policy is to ship it back if the machine just isn't right. So they can, and especially with the new machines, they can pull it right off the shelf, plug it in, put the old one in the box, and send it back. We'll support it because we have a tech line where the guys will jump on and walk that product through. But instead of waiting 4 to 6 to 8 hours for a tech to roll wheels out there, it's instantaneous. They take the box, plug it in. It's already programmed like the old one was, and they just ship it back UPS, FedEx without any cost to the consumer. So we're our number one goal is to take that friction away from a typical copier transaction, and that VPP program fits right into that.
So this stuff, it just plugs in and it's all set up and works. All they have to do
That's
is
it.
unbox it. So if they can
That's
unbox
it.
it and get it out of that box and on the desk, it's almost like a tech was in there doing it for them.
Exactly. So you can imagine how much cost savings you can gather versus a tech riding in his car for 4 hours up, 4 hours back, or like you said, even further. And the frustration he's got all that windshield time to get up there and to find out that the device is just worn out. Something happened. Something is, and it's the parts are non-replaceable anyway. So it makes everybody's life easier.
So the interface, it has no DCA. What do you think? How does that fit in with your, what you do? Brother made a big deal about that when I was chatting with Bob, and seemed to think that that was going to be a real popular feature of this platform. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I think it is 100% a feature for more or less the dealer than the consumer. The
Okay.
consumer, if you say DCA to them, they may not even know what that means, right?
Right.
So you want to explain it to them as an advantage. And once you do that, you're not talking about speeds and feeds anymore. You're talking about the ease of use and the reliability and the consistency of that relationship. Again, we're bringing a higher tech piece of equipment than you can buy yourself, or transaction wise, we're bringing it almost a 5-year warranty on a piece of equipment that we're bringing into your facility. So they don't really sometimes understand the technical part of it, especially again, just stressing like we were speaking of. In a rural territory, you might have a decent sized organization, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, but they may not have an in-house IT person. They may have an external company, and we're sort of providing that ability for them to interface. We'll take over that conversation, and they don't have to worry about it. So we don't have to explain the DCA. We're
So,
we're
but
internalizing.
behind the scenes, but behind the scenes, the DCA is effectively, if I understood that right, it cuts out all the scans, it reduces their traffic, and
Right,
and then through that console, what is it, the three, what is it called, the three manager console, right, where that
right.
console allows you to remotely access, set up
Everything.
everything. So push settings are all set up for the device, for the fleet, for everything. You can reboot devices. So everything you need to do without actually physically touching the device.
Exactly. We've had nationwide installs where we've used, and it's been absolutely flawless. The people at those type of companies that have locations, we have one that they have locations in every airport in the country, and we deploy all of the devices that way.
And are you using, I know there's some capability integrated into some of the reporting systems. Are you using any of the reporting systems with this? Like are you using an e-automate or
Yeah,
I didn't,
we're we're fully integrated with the Automate. We have the whole suite. It's the cloud version. We've had it's that was one of the big investments we did day one, because it's the standard, in the industry as far as like how to really build this business. John Hay will teach you all that in one of his classes, but that that ability allows us to integrate it both ways. When you book a contract, whichever you're using, FM audit, whatever, we sometimes do both just to make sure that we've got the ability to move in and out of whatever the manufacturer is offering, because sometimes we'll have a little bit more feature rich. So we're able to use Brother. Sharp has one, so that we're super speedy and efficient on dialing into that piece of equipment.
well, it just sounds like everything's so easy, and it ties in with your distribution partner. I'm sure you have one or two at least. I would imagine. Are you using the CEO Juice dashboards with the eAutomate? Is that seems to be the common theme, right? That just if you're using one, a lot of times people are using the other, and Gary knows how to get a lot more out of it for everyone. So, if we're getting towards the end of this, this has been awesome. But if we had a chance to tell some dealers watching this, what should they look for? Why should they consider switch over? What did it for you compared to, you don't need to name how you were doing it before, but just, what are some of the things you like about this product versus what you left behind?
I think one of the biggest things with Brother, if you're looking at a manufacturer from the standpoint of the quality of the product, and the limited scope also helps with sales. because you really have to understand four bottles, a couple printers and a couple copiers and printers, or I mean, a couple copiers. So that when you push that out to sit, instead of having 15, 16 different SKUs in a salesman just going through them to see which one, you really have four, right? And you can go to the field pretty quickly in a sales environment and say, I've identified somebody that's not under a contract, they're buying toner, and you can show them an ROI like instantaneously. And brother has a really good program for demos. If there's someone that's just sort of interested and they want a demo machine, they'll ship it directly to the customer with that DCA. Boom, they just call our guys and they get it all set up and they can try it, especially IT folks. They want to test the security, they want to do all that type of thing. So there's a lot of flexibility within the brother program. They'll train your people, they'll interface with a customer on a technical level if you don't have those resources. But in the at the end of the day, it's the quality of the product and the way that they bring it to market makes it easier for the dealer to go out and sell it. And the consumer can understand the transaction a little easier than looking at 15 different models. There's about four.
Well, that's a great way to wrap this up. Tom Mitchell, thank you for coming on today and sharing your experience with the Brother program. This has been hugely helpful, and enjoy your fall. I'm sure it's about to start. It's probably started turning up there. We've
Yep.
started down here, so I know your reds are coming out, and you'll be raking leaves before you know it.
Thank you, Eddie. It was great talking with you.
Great seeing you. Thank you.